Emerald. Ooh. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, guys. How are you? All of you doing? So, I will remind you, please check in to the lecture. Right now, there's only 6 people, so we're going to give it about 5 minutes like we normally do. And I'll answer any questions that you have um, during this 5 minute window while we wait for more people to tune into the lecture. Good evening. Apparently, a lot of the class didn't get the memo, even though it was in the team's general channel, that the lecture was online. Thank you, Dwight. I sometimes feel like Charlie Brown's teacher. Nobody ever listens to me. Hey, Sophia. We're going to talk about that in just 2 more minutes. We're going to talk about the quiz too. And Ethan, we're going to go through Teams one more time so it's on video. And then we're not ever wasting another bit of lecture on how to navigate Teams. Okay? So this is going to be the last time I go through how to navigate Teams. Where's my cell phone? Hopefully it's still got enough charge to do this. It does. Because I'm going to hold up my cell phone where you can see what it looks like on the cell phone. Yeah, you can type in the chat. I just assumed that you didn't want to. So I monitor Teams as well, just in case some students are shy and don't want to type in the live chat. It should work on an iPad. I'll troubleshoot that at our next break. Okie dokie, guys. So, as I told you at the start of the semester, the reason why the college was willing to risk us having a hybrid course and was willing to work with me with a hybrid course is so that because I have family that has illnesses, and sometimes I have to go for that. So my mom just got her last cancer scan, and there's some spots that have come back. Sorry about that. So that means that what was supposed to be kind of a short stay is going to be more of an extended stay. So the calendar is going to change in terms of what's online and what's not online. Obviously, the weeks that we meet for exams, we're still going to meet in person, but some of the other weeks that we were going to meet in person are going to be swapped to online. But I don't know right now for sure that I'm going to have to do that. I won't know that until my mom meets with her oncologist. So anyway, I'm having to kind of plan for that. So I'm having to pack a little bit more than I would normally pack to go down to Tennessee. So that's what's going on here. Now, I went ahead and set this up because we had agreed we were going to do online homework. So I went ahead and set it up the way online homework will run going forward. But I also wish to ask a favor of you guys. And you guys do need to do your attendance. Okay. Well, I have at least 18 responses. So I am realizing in terms of my ability to handle 113, 114, and my research students on top of my family, I do not have time to do both homework and quizzes. So what I'm about to post in the chat, and it's also linked in classwork and Teams. So for those of you that are online in Teams, if you're on your computer, it looks like this. It would be in classwork. And it would be under, we are in module 1. And it would be called course change survey. So what I'm asking you guys to do or to consider, and you can consider it one way or the other, is I'm asking you to consider allowing me to fold the points that I had allocated for quizzes into the homework. So we would just get rid of the quizzes. Those points would go into the homework. But, you also get to say if you would prefer um, me to still upload the questions that I have access to, the test banks, into Brightspace for no points, but just for practice. If you want practice multiple choice questions that you can go and access when you want to access them to study for the final exam. So those are the two questions on that survey. If you would please fill out that survey, I would appreciate it. This is just going to, yeah, well, it depends. We'll see how you guys choose to vote on this. But that's what I'm asking is, can I fold the quiz points into the homework? The bonus points remain unchanged. I only have one response on this form survey, and I have 20 responses on attendance. So you guys, please go into that form survey and respond. Because I'm going to go with whatever that form says. So if you don't respond, you don't get a vote. Go into the form and respond. I'm going to go based on the forms because that is saved. And if I'm asked by the college, I can say the class voted on it. So if even only 2 of you vote on it, then those 2 are the class. And if I'm asked, I can say, well, it's, it's like college evaluations. Nobody wanted to vote, even though they were attending lecture. Thank you, Zachary. Okay. So, now, with that being said, let me walk you through Teams navigation. So, have your phone out. With the app downloaded. So, you should see this in Teams if you're on your computer. That's your starting point. On your phone, you generally see, actually don't know because I usually keep Teams open, so give me just a minute. Okay, you'll probably see something like that, although it tends to remember wherever you were when you last clicked in. At the very bottom of this screen, you'll see a list of icons. And in that list of icons, you should see something that says Teams. And if you don't, you will see a triple dot that says More. And if you click on that triple dot, it will load an entire another list of apps, and one of those apps will say Teams. And when you do that, you will get the teams that you are in. Now, you won't see 3 because you're not in all 3 of these. And then when you load that, you'll see something that looks like this. Okay. And that equivalent on the phone, which let me quickly enlarge that. So when I hold this up, you can see. Now, you may not see all of that list of channels. That I did discover. So in order to see all of the channels, you go up to the top and you click the 3 dots and you hit Manage Channels. And that allows you to select which channels you want to follow. And you certainly are going to want to follow the General channel, the Interesting Videos channel, and the Question and Answer channel. Because those are the general channels where I post announcements and everything else. The Interesting Videos channel is where I post videos such as how to convert a photo to a PDF using your phone. And the Question and Answer channel is where you're supposed to be answering posting questions. So you shouldn't post questions in the below the announcement. You should just post questions in the channel. So you just click Post in Channel and post a question. And you can do that on your phone by clicking Question and Answer. And just like your email when you're on your phone, it's reversed. There's a little purple button down at the bottom that allows you to add a post. And that's how you post questions in your question and answers. Now, the other important part in Teams is classwork. You'll see it up at the top on an icon. It's the third icon. There's homepage, ignore that. Class notebook, that you may want to use. Classwork. And if you click on classwork, you're going to see all of the modules. And I'm always very careful at the start of the lecture to tell you what module we are in. And right now we are in Module 1, Chemical Literacy. Now, after this lecture today, we will be moving to Module 1, Atoms and Molecules. I split these modules up because we had a lot of stuff in it. So, after lecture today, the link for the next lecture will be in Module 1, Atoms and Molecules. But for those of you that are always hunting, where's the link? Where is it at? Well, the link is right there. Lecture 6, right here. 2026-02, Chem 113, Lecture 6. And it's a YouTube link. And it has that little Queens College icon, which helps you distinguish it. So that's one way you can get to the lectures. And on the phone, it is also there. It shows as a link on the phone. So you're going to need to look in where it says YouTube. And if you click on the YouTube, it checks the link and it takes you to the YouTube. So that's one way you can get to the lectures. And my phone shows the live chat. It is also there. It shows as a link on the phone. So you're going to need to look where it says YouTube. So that's how you do that. And you also can link to the whiteboards that I write on. Now, you will see that I have added a few things, and I need to go through that. And this came because I was asked to add them from 114 students. So you will see there is a PowerPoint thing that says, first of all, you will see Module 1 readings. And if you click on that, you will see, now these readings are based on the OpenStax textbook. And the reason why I did it based on the OpenStax textbook is that's what's uploaded that was free that I could upload. I don't think it's a great book. And all you have to do if you want me to tell you which chapters we're in any other textbook is go to the question and answer section, post a picture of your textbook, and ask, could you please tell me what chapters we're currently covering in this textbook. And I'll get back to you. But for the OpenStax textbook, what I did, or you can look at the OpenStax textbook and look at your textbook and cross-link them. That you can do too. But for the OpenStax textbook, I went through the chapter, found all of the subheadings, so the headings and the subheadings. OpenStax doesn't label subheadings as A, B, or C, but this is a list in Word, so it automatically labeled them, and I left it that way. And I have ranked these. If it has a ranking of 1, you need to know it. If it has a ranking of 2, you should know it. If it has a ranking of 3 or 4, if it has a ranking of 3, you may need to know it for like dental exams, medical school exams, but you're probably not going to need to know it for this class. And if it has a ranking of 4, I don't even think it's going to show up in medical school exams. So that's just kind of basic knowledge, you know. It's fluff. And I did that for the first module for all 3 chapters. So those are your readings. Now, in those readings, if you go to the textbook, the OpenStax textbook. Now, I did put these in your suggested homework for homework 1, but I am going to presume in readings, because you should, for any section that is marked 1 or 2 in the ranking, if there is an example problem in that section, such as, bingo, example 1, you should work it. Now, if that example's in a ranking 3 or 4, don't bother with it. But if it's in a reading section that is ranked 1 or 2, you should read it, and you should check your learning and verify that that you can work the problem and check your learning. It provides an answer. You should check and make sure you got the right answer to the right units, to the right significant figures. And if you don't, there's a question that you can ask in the question and answers. I worked this example problem from the textbook. I got this answer. It says it should be this answer. I don't understand what I did wrong. It's a perfectly valid question. Now, that leads us to these PowerPoint slides. These PowerPoint slides are from the textbook I'm using to write my notes. And that is the suggested textbook that is posted in the Queens College bookstore, namely Gilbert's Chemistry and Atoms Focused Approach. The reason why I'm using those slides is I have access to them. Now, I'm not going to use them in class. Using PowerPoint slides in class is not natural to me. If I try to use them, I'm going to be flustered. I'm not going to be able to focus, and I'm going to have a harder time teaching you guys and doing all the other stuff I need to do. So I'm not going to use these slides, but I was asked if I could please, and when I explained that to the 114 students, they said, well, you know, post them anyway, because then we can use them. I'm like, okay. So I have posted the slides. So these are the slides for the Gilbert textbook for chapter 1. Now, because it does put the sections in chapter 1, I will go and add to your reading so that, and rank these sections so that you at least have some ranking for the slides as well. I'll do that coming up. But I'm not going to rank every slide. You're going to have to use some discernment on that. Okay? But you have slides. Now, these slides have wonderful worked examples where they go through and explain examples from the text, from this particular textbook. So that gives you another place to go and look at practice problems. So, what does this mean? That I might use these practice problems? I probably will, because you guys now have access to them. And I might pull some of these problems into my lecture, but I'm going to work them on the board. But you now have access to those. Now I have to go a convoluted way because I can't see the close button. So I apologize for that. Now, the other thing that I posted that I had access to is these clicker slides. Now, these slides give you a question because they're meant to be used in class with electronic clickers. So they give you a question, and then in the next slide, they give you what the correct answer is. And all of these are mostly multiple choice because they're designed to be used with a digital clicker that you would hand out in class. So this is a really good way of getting an example of multiple choice questions that you might see from a test bank and to test yourself on that. So, and again, since these are posted and they're available to you guys, if you are working through this bank, and at some point I might move the answers to the end, but which way would you prefer? Do you want the answers right after the slide or at the end? Post that in the chat. But anyway, these are available. And I suspect if you use a slideshow, doesn't look like it. But it at least gives you a series of questions and you can see what the correct answer is for a little bit more complicated problem as well. Okay, after each slide. Okay, so I did want to show you that because it was asked of me in the other class, I reached out to the publisher, asked them, would you please supply me with the resources that you can supply me with? And this is what they had, so I've uploaded that for this book. So that you have. Now, we're finally, after today, we're going to be going into material that we're, yeah. So, after today, we're going to be going into material that will finally be using the guided inquiry activities as part of your suggested homework. So what that means is, unlike this last suggested homework here, so we had suggested homework OpenStax Chapter 1. You guys have seen that. And then we had the suggested homework I handed out in class, last class meeting, which is this. Now, that CHEM Connections suggested homework was from the book that I told you you only had to buy if you wanted to use it for bonus. So starting next week, I will begin to put, bonus, CHEM Connections activity, and just a place for you to upload your bonus. For your homework, what you will soon be seeing, so you can now see bonus 1 is there. Now, this is what I see. What you guys see is this. So I do want to point out, I'm not going to accept typed answers. It must be handwritten. No typing. You type it, it's a 0. I won't accept multiple image files. That's why there's in Interesting Videos ways to convert images to PDF. If you don't want to do that, you can still drop off a hard copy by 5 p.m. on Friday in my mailbox outside of Remsen 211B. It's a black mailbox sitting to the right of Remsen 211B. Don't drop it at the department office. Don't drop it in the big gray mailbox right outside the elevator. Walk down the hall, drop it in the black mailbox outside of Remsen 211B. If you put it anyplace else, it's not going to get to me while I'm out of town. My research student has the key to the black mailbox. He's going to get your papers at 5 p.m. on Friday. He's going to scan them, and he's going to, and that scan will email directly to me, and I will grade them and post the grade. I would ask, if you do that, to please put in the OneNote, submit it in mailbox, because that way I know that it's coming. Okay. And if you put a submit it in mailbox and I don't get it, then I know you sent it to the wrong mailbox, and I just put a 0 and go on about the business. So submit it to the right mailbox. Now, you have multiple ways to do this. You can download the PDF. So you can print that PDF. You can write your answers on the PDF. You can take a picture of the PDF and re-upload it. You can write directly on the PDF if you have the ability to write. Or you can write directly, if you click on the OneNote page, it's going to take you to your OneNote. And you can write directly on this using the draw button. I can't right now because I'm in student view. I don't have permission to do that. You do. So you can write directly on this, or you can have your PDF. You can take a picture and you can just paste that image where you want it to be pasted. Just make sure it's large enough that I can read it. So there are multiple ways to do this. You'll get pretty good at it within one time. This is due on Friday. Same is true for the homework. So the homework that will be due, and I set it up exactly the way it's going to be set up in the future. At 7:30, I'm going to end lecture because we'll be through with chapter 1. And the homework will be active, and I will tell you, I'm going to give you an hour of the body doubling, an hour where you can do your homework while we're, quote, in class. I will ask that if you decide not to stay in class where you can ask questions. Yep, it's perfectly okay to do that, Alan. And in fact, I think you can probably just click on the PDF and write on it directly, but you may not be able to do that. But yes, absolutely. However you want to write on it, you can write on it. So anyway, that's how this works. Classwork is, I am making sure that everything I put is in classwork. But, see, it just popped, it just pinged. So that assignment for homework 1 is now active. I am making sure that every bit of it is posted in classwork. The other place that this is located, all of the material is located, is okay, well, it's not going to be there. The other place where all the material is located, I'm going to move it from here. Is in class materials. And here you'll see old exams, the textbook, suggested homework, suggested readings. If you click on that, that's all of the PowerPoint slides for the entire class already uploaded. This is actually where I'm linking from classwork. I'm creating links to these documents. So the documents are already existing, even if the links have not been fully created. Bonus assignments, same thing. Additional practice, that's where all the clicker stuff is. So it's all here. And when I update files, the updated files like update calendars and update the course policies to reflect the change, the course assignments to get rid of quizzes, all of that will go in here. And then I will update the links in classwork. But it all links through this generals file. Now, the other thing you just saw in generals file, which you have access to, are these planner pages. 114 asked me if I would share them, so I did. These are just different images of different types of planners. There's due date planners. There's all sorts of different planners. If they're helpful, download them, use them. I purchased them a long time ago, specifically for students who might need help with time management stuff. So, a whole bunch of planner pages. Now, the other thing for you guys is that calendar that's up at the top. And you can also access that calendar. It's a little bit harder to get to on your phone. So if you go to General on your phone, there's a thing up at the top that says More. And if you hit More, you'll see a whole list of additional apps where you can also access classwork. But at the bottom, you'll see a red app that says Calendar. And that is the other place where you can access, because if I click on that calendar link, it says Join Meeting. So I always make sure that the YouTubes and the office hours are linked on your calendar, and that that's set up. That calendar is also up here. Okay, so that's your general overview of Teams. Record it. So if you can't find something, go back to the this lecture recording. For those of you that keep hunting the recording lecture, I can't believe I have to say this, but subscribe to the YouTube channel. I mean, it's a playlist. So just put that playlist where you get notified when something gets added to it. It's YouTube. That's the advantage of it. And the library also has scanners if you need to submit your homework. So there are multiple ways of getting all of that in and done. Okie dokie. So generally speaking, I'm going to treat the homework the same way I would if we were meeting in person. Homework will go live at 7:30. And I will still be available to answer questions from 7:30 to 8:30. What I'll probably do for that is do this in OneNote, since it's just Gen Chem 1 that I'm answering questions for. So I'll flip a OneNote page open where you guys can write or type your questions into OneNote if you need help on homework. And then it's due by midnight tonight. If you get it by midnight tonight, this first homework is, I think I've got it worth 30 points, but I haven't actually looked at how many questions are on it. Dwight, you usually respond pretty quickly. Can I borrow your notebook for a minute to show what you guys see in OneNote? Because I don't really want to use somebody's notebook. Alan, can I borrow your notebook since you're right up at the top too? Can I borrow? Thank you, Zobia. Okay. So, your notebook, you'll see bonus assignments, homework assignments, information, class notes. Class notes is private. If you're writing your notes in class notes, I am not looking at it. Okay. Information, if there's something I feel I need to push out to everybody as a document, I might put it in information. So your bonus assignment actually lives in bonus assignment, and you'll see bonus 1. There it is. So this is another way you can access it. It's in your OneNote class notebook. Your homework assignment is in your homework class notebook. Everybody has their own page, and that is what's linked to your homework. What you're going to see, the person who asked, do we have new homework today from 7:30 to 8:30? You have some OpenStax questions that came from the suggested homework. Not that many, just 2. And then you have the CHEM Connections one that I handed out in class. So that's your homework. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16. So it has 16 and 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so each question will be worth 2 points. That means the total homework's worth 46 points. So if you submit it tonight, you get you could at maximum get 46 out of 30. So 16-point bonus. If you don't submit it by midnight tonight, on Friday, the maximum you can get is 30 out of 30. So you just won't get bonus because it's a late submission. So, but all of this was homework that was part of what you should have had done. And that's why you've got, 5 hours to get it transferred from your notebook onto either via picture or writing or a PDF. So this is exactly how I would do it in class. I would hand out this graded homework sheet, and I would just say, okay, well, you have an hour to write your answers down on it. You have until midnight to submit it in the mailbox. And then I would stay around till about 9:30, 10 o'clock for students that did want to submit it. For students who wanted to stay around and get help and submit it. Okie dokie. So, thank you, Sylvia. Now, let us go to the one thing we have to cover so that you can definitely definitely do the rest of your homework that's due today. I was very careful on what I selected, so. Correct. If you upload the PDF to Teams and it's written, not typed, then you don't have to put anything in the mailbox. You don't have to drop anything off. It is uploaded to Teams, and I grade it straight on Teams. So you only have to drop it off if you don't want to try to figure out how to write. Or take pictures or convert to PDF. So, in other words, if you don't want to learn how to become computer savvy, you don't have to. You can print the PDF, write on it, and drop it off in the mailbox. Yeah. Multiple ways to do this. I recommend becoming computer savvy. And the reason for that is I know it seems overwhelming and you're a little scared, but I'm going to tell you something about computers. The likelihood that you're going to crash your computer by doing something wrong is very small. And that's also true for apps on your iPad or your phone. Generally speaking, you are not going to crash an app by hitting the wrong button. And the reason for that is they have people, when they write these apps, that hit every button just to verify that you can't crash the app. That's actually part of product testing. So I grew up And what I witnessed was I had a grandmother who worked as my grandfather's secretary who was terrified of the computer. And it, because she was just terrified that she was going to do something wrong on the computer. And I grew up, I basically built my computer, so I figured if they crashed, I'd have to fix it. So the best way to learn new things on the computer is just try. This is basically the same thing that we're doing here. The best way to learn anything is just try and assume that you're probably, unless it's something dangerous like skiing a downhill slope, you're probably not going to get hurt by trying. So just try. And if you have questions, that's what the office hours are for on Tuesday, Thursday. So now let me explain to you guys why the last time we talked about stuff, we were talking about precision and accuracy. And I had pointed out that accuracy, one of the things that's really required for accuracy is you have to have a number to compare to. But even with that, what do you consider accurate? So generally speaking, if you're within 1%, you're generally called very accurate. If you're within 5%, less than 5%, you can kind of say it's accurate, but iffy. Anything above 5% is inaccurate. Okay. If you're below 1%, oh, you're doing great. Between 1 and 5%, as you get closer to 5%, you're beginning to get to that boundary of where people are going to go, you're not that accurate. Above 5%, you're not that accurate. But again, that's a sliding scale, and a lot of that depends upon how difficult was the measurement you were making. So, if you have a particular theory that's modeling something that's fairly complex, but your theory is really simple, some people would probably say 10% is pretty accurate. Versus if you have a really complicated theory and you're modeling something simple and it's 10%, they're going to go, that theory sucks. So it's really a matter of scale and what you're trying to model is what determines accuracy. But for experimental measurements where you are comparing to a known experimental value, 1% is good, 5% iffy, anything above 5%, it's not great. So, and the way you calculate that percent, so percent error for accuracy is the absolute value of the known minus yours divided by the known times 100%. And that's why you have to know a value. You can't actually talk about percent error without knowing a value. Now, if you are inaccurate, is it precision? Is it that's the next question. So, I am going to use the standard bullseye target. So, say that's accurate is in the bullseye. And say I have stuff like that. Now, if I average these points spatially, I'm probably going to get, so the dots are my measurements. The red X is the approximate average. So the approximate average there is maybe there. But it's kind of hard to say, am I inaccurate because the precision's all over the place, or am I inaccurate for another reason? So this is poor precision and poor accuracy. You're right. Thank you. There you go. So this particular graph of a bullseye shows poor precision and poor accuracy. Now, if I draw a similar bullseye, and when you have poor precision, and poor accuracy, it's kind of hard to tell what to do to make it better. So generally speaking, when you have poor precision and poor accuracy, you fix the precision first. You get better, because that type of scatter in your measurements is not going to be due to an instrument unless the instrument is just dying. An instrument's going to have a better precision than that. So when you see something with this much scatter in it that's poor precision, generally speaking, that's probably because you're still learning how to use the instrument. So the first thing you do is you get better on the instrument. You fix your technique first. Then what can happen is, say you fix your technique and now you've got that. So now there's your average position. So now I have great precision and poor accuracy. But because I fixed my precision, I can see why I'm inaccurate. I can see that all of my points are clustered right there to the upper left. And that means my instrument is not calibrated correctly. So let's come back to here. When you have poor precision, this is a measure of something called random error. And even your instrument's precision is a measure of random error. Every time you take a measurement, you have some error associated with it. The instrument's got some error. You've got some error based on whatever technique you're using. Accuracy is associated with something called systematic error. Now, if you have both poor precision and poor accuracy, it can be really hard to determine if you have a systematic error. Because depending upon where how scattered your precision is, how scattered your measurements are, you maybe can't tell if your instrument is miscalibrated. Here, I've got great precision. I improved my technique, so I've got really good precision, but I still have poor accuracy. And now I can see all my peaks fall to the upper left. When you have something great precision, poor accuracy, this is indicative of systematic error. And that implies machine needs recalibrated. Machine or instrument needs recalibrated. I'll give you a really good example of this that I had happen not too long ago. So I do something called quilting. And when you sew pieces of fabric together for this particular technique, you are supposed to sew them with a 1/4 inch seam. And if you are going to truly be good at quilting, you've got to have an incredibly accurate 1/4 inch seam. Otherwise, your blocks that you're making aren't all the same size. So it's very important to be very accurate, 1/4 inch seam. Since I hand sew, I have to actually draw on the fabric where that 1/4 inch seam is. So I have this ruler. It's a 2-inch ruler for quilting. And I'm not paying attention. I pick it up, I lay the 1/4 inch down, and I draw a mark. And then the next time I pick it up, I draw a mark. And I'm looking at these two going, wait a minute, one mark is bigger than the other mark. Seams are off. And so I looked, and it turns out that on one side of that ruler, for whatever reason, I don't have a clue, they actually shifted what should be the 1/4 inch line to make room for the letters to mark 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. And they didn't do that on the other side of the ruler. So one side of the ruler has an accurate 1/4 inch. The other side of the ruler is somewhere between a 1/4 and 3/8. But it's not really any exact measurement. So it's a poorly made quilting ruler. And that caused me to have to resize a whole bunch of blocks. But that is an example of a systematic error. One side of that ruler is mismarked. A 1/4 inch is not a 1/4 inch. It's larger than a 1/4 inch. And that creates a systematic error anytime you use that ruler, if you use that particular side of the ruler to try to mark a 1/4 inch. And on that ruler, there's really no way to calibrate it. You just know don't use that side. That's calibration. Now, yeah, I understand. Oh, a ruler like that, they definitely will give you trust issues. So these rulers have way more marks on it than you guys are ever expecting, other than somebody that's seen them. I mean, they've got marks for 30-degree angles, 45-degree angles, 60-degree angles. They got all sorts of marks on them. So yeah, they can definitely give you trust issues. So you can have great precision and poor accuracy. So that great precision means your random errors pretty much, what great precision implies is your random error, user error. Let's do it this way. User error is the size of instrument error. So when you have great precision, what that really means is the error that you introduce by making the measurement is within the error of the instrument itself. Now, you can't get rid of the instrument's precision in its error, because you can only improve that by buying a new instrument. But in order to make this determination, if you have both poor precision and poor accuracy, you must improve the precision before you can determine if your instrument's also inaccurate. Now, you could have improved your precision and had gotten something like that. And here you have great precision and accuracy. This means no systematic error. So you don't have to calibrate your instrument, and the user knows what they're doing. And that's what you're really aiming for. Now, for those of you that go on to upper level classes, sometimes, especially if you're modeling something, your theory has a certain level of approximation to it that means that no matter what you do, you're never going to have accuracy, because the theory itself is just not good enough. I mean, you're getting as accurate as you can get with the theory that you have, but that theory is not good enough. And also sometimes you can have a systematic error, but it's such a pain in the rear end to recalibrate what you're using that you choose to approach how to fix that systematic error differently. And this is what you can do. So, say I have a known volume. So this is my actual. Okay. So what a pipetteur looks like is it looks like a syringe. So you have a dial. It dials into this little tube that goes down, and then you put a tip on the bottom. And on this, what that dial does is it allows you to select. So you dial in a volume. And that's the volume that thing should dispense. So that would be your known volume. So select it on pipetteur. Now, graduated cylinder, the same thing. It's got graduations on the cylinder. That's the known volume. You can read those graduations. Now, you can then take, pull up water into the pipetteur and say, weigh it. So put it into what's called a tiered vial so that you can weigh the mass of water dispensed, and then use the density of water to convert mass to volume. And that would be the measured volume. And here, weighed water dispensed by pipette. Use density to convert mass to volume. And then what you may get, if it's perfect, then what I should get is a perfectly straight line with a slope of 1. That would mean no systematic error. So if I get that my measured volume is 1 times my known volume, then no systematic error. What you usually get is something that's slightly less. So then you get something like the measure volume It's like 0.996 times the known volume. And that means sometimes it can be worse than that. It can be like a 0.95. When it gets down to about 0.9, you got to calibrate it because it's just way off. Now, calibrating these pipetters is a pain in the rear end. Even getting the data I'm just showing you is not great. I mean, I usually have my students do this because it allows them to practice with the pipetters before they need to use them. But, you know, you have to measure volume 5 times for each volume so that you can get this plot. So it's a pain. But calibrating, it's even worse because you calibrate it by a little bitty knob at the top of that plastic barrel. So you calibrate it by a little bitty plastic thing that's built in right there. And then you have to completely remeasure all of those masses and volumes to see, did you shift the calibration in the correct direction? And if you didn't, you have to readjust here, measure all those masses, readjust and measure all those masses. So what we do in my lab is we know this type of equation and we just use it. It's a systematic error. We correct for it when we're writing papers and preparing the final papers. We just readjust the volume, we readjust the concentrations based on our actual volumes that account for the systematic error of the pipetters that we're using. And that keeps us from having to really recalibrate those pipetters unless the calibration gets really, really bad. So in other words, systematic error, you don't necessarily have to recalibrate the machine, but you definitely do have to I'm confused. But you definitely do have to correct for it when you're working out your calculations and publishing your results. Okay? So, that was one of the things we needed to cover. I'm not going to grade on accuracy on significant figures in your calculations yet. Just kind of round to 2 or 3 decimal places, and you should be okay. So we'll go over the 2 rules for significant figures at the very beginning of next lecture, or when we need them, when we're really doing calculations on stoichiometry, because there's very few places in the next like 4 chapters, we are not going to need those rules on significant figures and precision, because most of the next few chapters is on structure and nomenclature. So when we get to where we actually really need those rules on significant figures and precision, I will cover it then, because then we will be using it every single problem we work. Does that make some sense to you guys? So at this stage, we may occasionally get, and welcome to the class, we may occasionally get, since it is a public YouTube stream, people coming in to see what chemistry is about. And I'm fine with that. And please continue to ask questions if you wish. But this lecture, we meet on Monday, Wednesday at different times. So 8 a.m. Eastern United States time to 10 a.m. and also 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. So you're welcome to join the lecture. You're also welcome to follow the playlist because all of the lectures are recorded. So welcome from Nepal. For the rest of you, this is the end. We finished chapter 1. Like I said, we're going to come back to chapter 1 in terms of calculations when we need them. And I will remind you in the lectures as we need it. Chapter 2 will be on the structure of an atom and the structure of molecules. So that'll be chapter 2. Um, so that's what we'll be doing for Wednesday of next week. Monday's a holiday. Is we will move into chapter 2. And now I'm going to turn this over to you guys to start to do your homework. I am going to be around, so I'm going to sit around. If you have questions, you should put them in for the people that are part of the Queen's College team, you should put them in collaboration space. Anybody can write in collaboration space. So I have one for homework 1 on February 11th. Okay, so there's a page in the OneNote notebook under collaboration space. Any of you guys can add questions as you're doing your homework. So we'll be around for a while. Yes, Zachary, you can leave your physical work if you've already worked the other part of that problem, because there's additional homework besides what I handed out on Monday. So check your PDF. You can submit that in the mailbox before you leave. It has to be my mailbox. That's the black one by Remsen 211. So don't drop it off in the gray one by the department office. That's Remsen 206 by the elevator. That's a no-no. So walk around to Remsen 211B. Black mailbox to the right of the door. But yes, you can drop it off there. And I will, a student will scan it and send it to me on Friday. Yes, I am a teacher of a university. Well, at a university. I'm not the teacher. I'm a teacher. You're very welcome, Zachary. Give me just a minute, Patel. Did you turn it into the mailbox or did you turn it in on Teams? I see it turned in, Air Patel, and I can read it. Very neat handwriting. So very, very neat handwriting. I can read it. I can see everything you've got written. Good job. So again, in class notebook, under homework questions, homework 1, February 11th, if you have any questions, Sophia, I have not done the uploaded calendar because I was busy putting in everything else. And I also needed to check about quizzes. So now that I've done that, I will probably work on the updated calendar tomorrow and get that done. But I won't be able to let you guys know about if some of the in-person classes are going to swap to online until probably late next week, or because I don't remember. Give me just a minute. I may have it. I do not. I have my mom. Oh, I won't know until the 24th, February 24th, how much my schedule's going to change because that's when my mom meets with her doctor. So, but I do want to, I would like those of you that are still hanging around this, I would really, really appreciate it if you could tell me when your other exams are for exam 1. Because generally all of the exams fall in the same week, and I really try um to kind of not have chemistry exam fall in the same week as all of the other exams, if I can get around that. um it's brutal when that happens, so I really do try hard to kind of shift the exam slightly to get it out of exam week. So it would certainly help. And that, please post in Teams private. If you could kind of give me a sense of when your other exams are scheduled, it would be really helpful. So the first week of March. So it being the week 7 um, doesn't fall during exam week. Because I may end up moving it to week 8, but and then I would just move the material from week 8 up to week 7. But again, that's something I'm not really going to know just yet. I need to see what's going on with the other stuff going on. So, but it doesn't look like it's going to conflict either way. And that's what I needed to know. Graded homework 1 is what you're required to do. And you will see that part of graded homework 1 is what I handed out in class. And the other part came from the suggested homework problems from your textbook. So if you went to assignments, you would have gotten to that either way. Because graded homework 1 shows OpenStax questions, and then CHEM Connections Activity 1 all questions. So don't submit yet. Do the other page. So in the future, when we like when I do homework 2, but more likely homework 2, we should it'll say CHEM activity as part of the suggested homework, CHEM activity in a number. And that means that part of the homework that I will pull questions from when I do the graded homework will be those CHEM activities from the POGIL workbook. And that will start next week. So if you haven't gotten your POGIL workbook, you must, so the chemistry : a guided inquiry. If you have not yet received that workbook, you need to chat me privately in Teams with a picture of your receipt showing that you purchased it and when it's coming. And then I will send you the activity associated with the suggested homework until such time as your book comes in. But if you don't chat me, I'm going to assume you have that book. And so the question will just say, I'm going to use this as an example, guys. This is from 114, just so you can see what it looks like. So you can see it just says CHEM activity and a list of questions. So in Model 3, what is your answer to critical thinking question 11? And that's how I ask it. So I don't rewrite the question or anything like that because you have your workbook and it's supposed to be out of that workbook. So that means if you haven't gotten your workbook yet, you're not going to be able to answer that question because you don't know what the question is. So it'll be really, really important to let me know that you've ordered your book, but it hasn't come in yet. And so I need to do that. Oh, you're right. Sorry. I really got to remember to flip the screens. I apologize for that. So again, to reiterate, so it looks something like this. So just, what is your answer to critical thinking question 12? So if you don't have the activity, you're not going to be able to answer that. So I can send you the activity, but I will only do that if you show me a picture just of the receipt that says you bought the book and you're just waiting on that to come in. Otherwise, it's a violation of copyright at this stage. And don't send that in the group chat. Send that as a private chat, please. First of all, nobody else, you shouldn't be sharing your your receipts with everybody. It's bad. It's bad cybersecurity. What a lot of students have been doing is like loading their Amazon thing that shows it's shipped and what time, and they just screenshot it and post that screenshot into Teams chat to me. And when they do that, I just send them the activity they needed. Now, the solutions to the graded homework 1 will appear in this OneNote notebook so that you can see them and grade your own. What's on the second page of the graded homework page, Alan? What does the second page say? No, that really isn't their assignments. If you look at the graded homework page, you will see it says OpenStax questions, 1 page. Second page, CHEM Connections, Activity 1, all questions. If you go and look at the homework 1 in OneNote, you will see OpenStax question, 1 page. And then there's that homework 1, CHEM Connections, all questions. So you submit both. But in the future, if I do something like that, I'll remember to merge the PDFs so that it's less confusing. Okay, guys, I'm going to be around. I'm just going to end the live stream recording part because that's kind of boring just sitting here watching. But I will be monitoring the Teams